Morning, everybody. It is 8:12 a.m., August 11th. Welcome to my channel. Now, the news over the weekend pretty much is semi-related. AMD and NVDA are supposedly going to have to give 15% of their sales to China to America. Okay, Trump wants to make some money on these. I'm supposing this is AMD is down only 1% now. Is down more. NVIDIA is down only 0.30 right now. It was more earlier. Okay. Plus, we'll get into the CEO of Intel. Trump wants them to resign because they have ties to China's military, and this particular person has invested a lot of money in China companies. So they considers him a threat to American security. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think the guy's name is Lip Bhutan. So that's what's going on. Now this week, we have CPI, PPI coming out this week, and earnings are pretty much done. I mean, they're not all done, obviously, but the major players are pretty much done. We still have Nvidia, but they don't report. I don't remember exactly, but they don't report this week. So, with that being said, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structures in the market along supply and demand, gamma exposure level, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's my edge. Also use Anchor View Ops and my trusty market internals to tell me what's under the hood of the markets. Okay. And my weekly expected move indicator for free. All right, for free. You go to join my Discord, go to my YouTube homepage, click on that link, and you will see the channel weekly expected move. Okay. If you want to see what that looks like, go to my Discord, come down, you join, go to weekly expected indicator. I already ran my script this week, so the new indicator is here. It's posted for Thinkorswim. All right, so put it on your charts. All right, and my Discord is Confluence Trading. Like I said, go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. All right, and of course, as always, please join, subscribe, set an alert. I give you the market news, everything you need to know about the markets, basically. Okay, one-stop shop. And then later on, I give you the long and short trade scenarios. Okay, and a bunch of technical analysis to follow. All right, and if you obviously want to get more in-depth commentary from myself, you join my Discord. I just showed you that before. All right, now let's get right into futures. No time to waste here. Now it's a Monday. It's a summer. All right. Okay, what we got going here? Bitcoin is at 120. The VIX is up 3.89. Ethereum's up almost 3%. Crude's up 0.61. Russell's up 0.33. Dollar's up 0.32. Dow's up 0.27. 30-year bonds is up 0.19. ES up 0.18. Nasdaq up 0.13. 10-year yields are down 0.14. And let's see here. Silver is down 1.91 in gold, pulling back down 2.37%. All right, moving on to the Mag 7 Plus here. What do we have going on here? We have Coinbase up 3.21. Coinbase has been battered as of late. Tesla is up 1.79. Eli Lilly's been battered as well, down, up 0.62. Amazon is up 0.50. Coming down to the bottom here, we have Google down 0.21, Nvidia down 0.32, Apple's down 0.55, and AMD, the laggard, down 1%. Okay, is there some news with top sectors? Not really. Let's go to sectors. All right, sectors. Discretionary is your leader. That's your Tesla, your Amazon. Okay, up 0.46. Energy's up 0.42. Financials up 0.33. Healthcare's up 0.28. Any laggard? There's no laggards today. No laggards to speak of. Okay. I think we're going to move on to the economic calendar. Give me me a sec while I pull that up. And there's nothing on tap for today. All right, so we'll just go over this week. You got CPI on Tuesday. And let's see what else we got. Some Fed speak this week, PPI. And then on Friday, we have retail sales, Michigan consumer sentiment. Okay, that's what that looks like. Now, we're going to go as far as some stock news this morning. All right, we have NVIDIA stock fell 0.8, and AMD fell 1.8. Media reports suggest that the chipmakers are set to pay the U.S. government 15% of the returns they make from the sale of artificial intelligence. I already talked about that. Apple stock fell 0.5, handing back some of the iPhone makers' outside gains last week after it unveiled a series of U.S. investment pledges. AI stock slumped 32% after the enterprise AI application software company released preliminary first quarter results, severely missed analyst expectations. Intel, this is what I was talking about earlier, stock gained 1.7 following a report that CEO Lip Bhutan was expected to visit the White House after using President Trump called for his removal. All right, that's what's going on there. Let's look at, here's some more news. Talked about the NVIDIA and that. Let's see, as Novo Nordisk ramps up lawsuits over Wegovy copies. Interesting. USPS blocks shipping of illicit vapes and booze for big tobacco. In India, Trump tariffs sparks call to boycott American goods. All right. And let's see if there's anything else in here. Let's see. CoreWeave, JP Morgan raised target price to 135 from 66. Ford Motor Company, Jeffrey raises target price to 9 from 8. Trade Desk, Jeffrey's cuts target price to 50 from 100. Trade Desk got hammered. I think it was down 37% last week. Let's go to the juice. Nothing really to see here except the NVIDIA news. There's nothing really to talk about here. And we don't really need to go over upgrades, downgrades. No breath charts. We're going to get right into maybe a little market internals recap here. And there's not much to talk about. I'll go over it briefly. All right, so on Friday, pretty much all the major sectors were green. Okay, pretty much. And what happened was you had an opening and you pretty much drove up, had one pullback, and then that's all she wrote pretty much. You consolidate. All right, pretty boring, right? But here you could just see all the green. This wasn't monster strong, but it just really wasn't weak. All right, I didn't take any trades. I've been watching Bookmap. Basically, I'm trying it out for a month to see if I like it. So far, I really like it, and I did see one potential trade was when it pulled back here. This was a pretty nice pullback. I did see in Bookmap that could have been an entry, but I'm just watching for. The good thing about Bookmap for myself, okay, and I'm talking about it. Like I'll just show you to you here while I'm talking about it. The good thing about Bookmap that I've seen so far is the visual. And the good thing also is that I don't need to really learn how to use it. I already know how to read it. There's not really, it's pretty easy to read it, which makes it a very attractive tool to use. Okay, now I have all my columns set up here. So I'm pretty much set to look at Bookmap. And, if you want to know where liquidity is for today, you can easily see it here. You can see big liquidity. Let's see here. Up in the 64.37s, you got some heavy liquidity here. And as far as to the downside, you got some liquidity here at 64.14 and 3/4 and 612 and a half. That's where the rest of the liquidity is right now. All right. So I like it so far. It probably is going to stay around. I probably will maybe possibly buy a lifetime. I'm not sure what I want to do with that yet. Okay, now let's get right into daily charts. And I do have my new expected move indicator on there. So if you add it to your charts, you'll see the bubbles up here based on Friday's close and the new ranges. So the new ranges we're expecting in the SPY this week is $11.74, right? From 625.44 to 648.92. That's the expected range for this week. Okay. Now if we look at the charts, all right, bring this up here. This has just been higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Okay, yes, you do have a day that we went down, but it's crazy that this in August that you did have the drop and then we just clawed back, right? So again, higher low, higher high on Friday. Okay, pretty orderly. Now where are we at now? 638.10. 638.10 is this tiny gap up here. So we're gapping up today. Okay. So last week we had a large range from the previous week. We stayed within that range. All right. Now let's look at futures. Futures here, what does this show us? Right. Remember I said there's like a consolidation here, and we're now in the middle of this consolidation. You can see there's last week's highs. That's what we're really playing around here in the futures. Got like a doji candle, the last week's highs in futures, and you can see the last two sessions highs. Okay, not a lot's happened overnight at all. Typical Monday morning, nothing exciting about this overnight session. Okay, moving on to the Qs. So the Qs made an all-time high on Friday. Pretty crazy. After this big dip, right? Pretty nuts. New all-time high. Actually, the expected move last week was like 571. That actually pulled back on Thursday, and I was like, okay, this was overdone. And then it really made a move past the expected move last week. All right, and you can see it hit the previous month's highs and the previous week's highs. So Nasdaq was relatively strong. Okay. Now where are we at now? We're at 575.23. We're up here. So we're gapping up. All right. Now let's look at futures. There's your futures. So we didn't make an all-time high in futures, but we did in QQQ. Okay. So here you can see last week's highs. That's kind of like I said. We're just hanging out here. Not much to see here. Typical Monday. All right. You got the chip news. So we'll just have to see how that works. Do we get a little dip today because of that? Price it in, or is it priced in already with the little dip that's happened? Well, I don't know. All right. And like I said, for the triple-headed monster, like it's literally not doing anything right now. That I'm gonna kind of pause on looking at that as much. Okay. Dollar is not like kind of hanging out down there. The bond market is pretty much in a range for a long time now. So, and when something happens with substance, I'll go back to reviewing that. I'm just gonna skip that for now. And I think we're just gonna go right into the charts. I mean, even the hourly chart analysis, there's not much to really look at that I'm not gonna be able to show you. All right. So we're gonna move on from to right to the market profile. Okay. Unless people like the hourly chart analysis, there's usually I like a ton of levels to show. Who knows? Let me know if you like to have that back. I'm not saying I'm getting rid of it, but I just don't think there's a lot to glean from it. So let me change my workspace. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. All right, well, let's look at this ES together. So this is your market profile and volume profile analysis. Okay. Okay. Let me get my little trusty marker out. What a pain in the butt. I gotta kill this thing and restart it. In 1 second. Alrighty. Okay. Let's look at the profile. So we got some excess at the bottom. We got value, big, large value area, and then we're building up some volume up the top here. Okay. That's our profile for the rolling week. Okay, that's the profile for the rolling week. So let's look at some levels. All right. We do have a new most traded price of the month. That's 64.06. 64.06. That's a pretty decent level. And I'll show you reasons why. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll show you that I don't share this a ton. I have this chart I call like an express chart with a bunch of volume profiles on it. I'm going to share it to you right now, with you right now. Here it is. Okay. So this chart, I'm going to real quickly explain it. The heat map on the sides, you can see that's a rolling year profile. The white is this year. Okay. So you can tell this is uncharted territory, the whites, because it matches, right? We have it, this is all-time high, so that's why there's no past data. But you can see down here there's past data. Okay. Now, real quickly, go over this chart. Every blue profile is a week. So I have weeklies. Every white profile here is a month. Those are monthlies. So I can real quickly on this chart look at what's weeklies, monthlies, and these are 4-hour candles with a month-to-date anchored VWAP here. Okay, and every week in white is the most traded price of that week. Every month has a pink most traded price, a VPOC. Okay, now our price is here, 64.21. You can see a high volume node right here, right? Why is that? Well, look at these weeks. Those were the most traded prices of those 2 weeks, and you actually had a high volume node last week. So where are we at now? We're right there. Remember, markets will tend to gravitate towards these high volume nodes. They're like magnets. Okay, and they consolidate there. They usually don't rip through them. All right. So our markets, what do? They only do 2 things. They base or consolidate, and then they trend. Base and consolidate, and then they trend. That's all that happens. And when they base, that's basically a VPOC, a most traded price. If they trend down, they usually go down to a most traded price and make a decision. That's all the markets can do. Base, trend. Okay? Real quick to note, look at this weeklies, right? Right here. Look at this support. And what do you notice here? A high volume node. Okay? Big high volume node there. This is what we've been doing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks now. This is the 7th. We've come down here. Look, that last week we were there. That's crazy. That just shows you we're not doing anything. Okay? So that was a little side step there. Just wanted to show you that. All right. So that brings us to here. All right. Now we're going to mark off some levels here. So now you know what at 64.06 is important. Okay. And it's perfectly lined up with the overnight lows. So here's your overnight low. And there's your most traded price of the rolling month. And what this encompasses is a lot. 50% retracement of Friday. The most traded price of the month, the overnight low. Okay, so that's a level you want, if you're a bull, the market to defend. Okay, that's a big time level. All right, so any time spent underneath that level in the immediate term is probably on the side of a little bit of a bear. Now, in the overall macro picture, it's not, but more immediate, it kind of is. Okay, so price, where's that? 64.19 right here. Okay, you have a very balanced profile overnight. It's very balanced. Okay, hence the doji in the chart you saw earlier. Okay, we're inside Friday's range. All right, and we have a pretty decent level here to talk about. Right, the 60. Let's call it 64.30s. This level here. Why is that? Right, because you have a session here that has a high. You have Friday's highs right there as well, and the overnight highs. So this area has been resistant. Okay, that area has been resistant. Okay, so that's an important level to look at. Okay, possibly could be a breakout higher. Okay, okay, that's really what I'm going to look at here. Okay, you also have value area low from Friday right there. And all value area is, okay, is 70% of that trading day. Now, as far as a market profile, so everybody understands, a market profile is time based. Okay, it's 30-minute profiles. It's time based. TPOs. Every 30 minutes is a new TPO. It stands for time price opportunity. Okay, it's just 30-minute bars. But the market profile is based on time. So there is a POC. Okay, so your POC for Friday is right here. It says POC, right? Point of control. It happened to be the most time spent was 64.06. That's the most time was spent. Okay. Now we talk about volume. The most volume was 64.14. Okay, so you have a VPOC and a TPO. Sometimes they match up, sometimes they don't. That's I'm just explaining that a market profile is time based and a volume profile is volume based. Okay. So, and you have right here you have demand off the drive up. Right. Now, this price here, 63.71, is the 24-hour most traded price of the week. This right here, box right here, usually represents the most traded price. That probably will move up today, but not yet. Okay. So today, before we get into scenarios, it is Monday. Okay. You can tell the volume is not the best today. It's the summer. It's Monday. All right. Really, the biggest level I'm looking at is 64.06. What do we do from there? All right. Now, let's get right into scenarios now. Let's do it. And we're going to start with the bull side. Okay. So, price is here. We got a demand, right? We have our 64.06 level. So, what would I like to see? All right. You do have a supply here. So, you have last week's highs here. So, maybe, just maybe, right? We play some games up here. Maybe hit the overnight highs. I'd like a little tiny correction back into this demand. And of course, you can take off, break this high, like I said, the 64.30s. There is supply up here. Okay, so I don't know. There's supply there, so it really has to get some strength to really push higher. Okay, and then second, as long as we come back into this level, 64.06s. Remember, it's the overnight lows. Okay, and it's the most traded price of the rolling one. That's a big level to cut through. Okay, so what do I want to see here? I just want to see it be held. So any kind of hold, even as long as it does this, I'd be comfortable to go long. Now, the internals have to either be in parity on that pullback or show some strength. If they do, it's kind of an easy long. If the market is more weak, then makes it a little more difficult. So I like to have my market internals show me their strength to lean on. Specifically, if tech, let's say, is leading, then I'll be more comfortable to go long. Okay, that's really it. Okay, now you could get a bear trap scenario where you dip a little bit into the value area low, recover again, right? These levels like this, nothing's perfect. It can dip below it as long as it doesn't accept price lower down here. Find acceptance where it holds. Then you got nothing to worry about. It starts making some serious volume down here, spending time down there. Then it's like, okay, maybe this level is we're spending more time below it. Okay, so that's my longs that I'm interested in. Now, as far as shorts go, okay, we have supply. We have overnight high here. We have that 64.30 resistance. Okay, price again right here. So, what would I like to see? Well, one, when the market opens, I don't want to see tech outright leading. Now today, remember, okay, AMD and NVDA, those chip sales. Will we open up? Is the market gonna go, all right, let me sell off the chips, specifically AMD and NVIDIA. AMD doesn't really move markets, NVIDIA does. So it's got like a $4 trillion market cap. So really be on the watch there. That's going to be your telltale sign, how they move. Okay. So if that happens, maybe we get a push up here. Like I said, fail the 64.30s. All right. Come through the most traded price of the overnight. And then you're really going to test this demand in 64.06. That would be a decent trade. Okay. Now, what's gravy? Gravy is if you break below 64.06, start to find acceptance, right? And then you retest that level, you could find yourself going down to Friday's lows and then this 63.70. That could be it. Now, you really get cooking, yeah, you can go down to here, to around 63.44. Okay? I don't know. I really don't. Okay? Now, if we're up in here, can you get a short? Yes, but if we're up in here, the market's probably going to be pretty strong. So this is probably the only thing I'm interested in. All right? All right. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. Now remember, the NASDAQ, the QQQ has made all-time highs, right? And the NASDAQ has not. All right. So let's look at this NASDAQ together. All right. Now, as far as the volume profile, you can see value is way up here, right? And you're building out volume. This is pretty bullish, right? So it's pretty bullish even with AMD and NVIDIA, right? Having some weakness, okay? And the semiconductors, here's the ironic part. They're not even down, the sector, you know? So interesting, right? Now, if it was NVIDIA that was the laggard, then I'd be like, whoa, you'd see more weakness. But NVIDIA is only slightly down, okay? Now, the level that comes right off the map here, very easy to spot. You have the previous, not last week's, the week before that, 238.50. That's all-time highs, okay? That's up here. That's a supply. So you have this, jeez. You have this level, okay? God. Right there. All right, and then that's going to be another big level here at the bottom of that. So you have that 238.50 resistance for all-time highs, and last week's highs 237.65 right there. So that box at the bottom of it is a key resistance. At the top of it's a key resistance. Okay. You got Friday's highs here, overnight highs, and which happens to be Friday's highs of last week's highs. Okay. So that's a pretty big level. All right. You got some supply here, and you're trading around the most traded price of the overnight, which is around 237.34. Okay. You're inside Friday's session. Now you do have a nice level to work off here. Another one. Now this is where the overnight, the POC, right? The market profile, the most time spent and the most volume spent match up right in this demand zone. Okay, right in this demand zone. You have the most traded price of Friday, the POC, the most time spent, the overnight lows, and this demand zone. Okay, we even include the value. Let's break it out to value area low as well. Okay, that's really what you got to look at today. That's the levels. Okay, you got some single prints down here. You open, pretty much drove up, right? Well, we got this demand here. All right. Now, why don't we just get right into scenarios? Pretty short and sweet today. Not sure who's with me this morning, but trying to just give not everything, just what I want to see. Okay? Just what I want to see, which are viable, right? And what I'm trying to do myself lately, and it's not easy, okay, is trading supposed to be boring. It's supposed to be boring, right? You know you made it when you're bored, okay? And what I'm trying to do lately, and I try to do this, it seems, every year, is try to be, good morning, Chief, is try to be just make it boring. Because I know when I really see something that I like, a setup that I have, okay? A setup that I have. So, might be going live, yeah, depending on interest. I mean, I don't know if Documents is going to be trading. Another couple people that go into my live are like on vacation. But if there's interest, I'll go live, Chief. So anyway, what I'm talking about is what you call it, being boring. Okay? Because when it comes down to it, when I am waiting for what I want to see, it becomes very boring, which means that you could either become patient and accept the boring, or be like itchy to be like, man, you think the market might move higher, but you don't have a setup. You think the market may move lower, but you don't have a setup. It's not a setup that you like to see, which really means you shouldn't do anything. But then what really happens is when you think in your mind this might drop and you don't have a setup and then it drops, it makes you feel like, man, I should have shorted that, even though there was no setup. Or if you're thinking about going long and you see a big level on your chart, but it doesn't really set up for your setup, and then you're like itchy to go, okay, am I going to go long? Am I going to go long? And then you decide to do nothing, and then the market rips. That's what breaks me sometimes, to me, to go, oh, God, right? But if it wasn't a setup, I mean, a lot of times I do go, it's not a setup, so what am I going to do? But there is those moments where I just get bored, all right? And then it becomes like this battle, because you want to feel every day. If I do this video, I do a lot of charting, it's a lot of work, and then you don't get to bear any fruit from your work. It could be a downer. It could feel like you're just not doing anything, right? But then what I've noticed is when I wait and I wait and I wait and it's boring, and then all of a sudden you get presented with this low-hanging fruit, that's when the best trades come. But you gotta wait for them, right? So anyway, without that little soliloquy, we're gonna get right into the scenarios here. Let's do it. Okay, so pretty simple today. It's all about that 236.76 level right here. All right, so what I want to see, even if we come up here hit overnight highs, get a pullback, go through the most traded price of the overnight. That's your 23734s. Then I want to see how do we handle 23676s, which is the most traded price of Friday, okay, and demand zone and the overnight lows. What do we do here? All I'm looking for is a this get defended where I can go long. Break that key level, 2377s, to go and test the all-time highs, 23850. Okay, that would be a picture perfect scenario for me. And if the internals, if the market starts to buy AMD from this dip, okay, and everything is okay, you can get that all-time high. Okay. Now, that's probably the ultimate long for me right now. All right. Now, of course, the market can make it look like it's going to drop. You do have single prints down here, but like if we make it down here on a Monday, it has to be quick. It really has to be quick. Okay. I'm not a fan of it though, be honest with you. Now, there can be a bear trap looking like here. If it goes down, hits value area low, retest, that could be your long as well. Okay. Now, what else could happen? We could also drive up, pull back to go all-time high. I want to be around above that level to give me a bias in the morning to be long there, right? Okay. Of course, we can rip down here and get a little bounce, but that is more contrarian, I would say. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get the short side. Okay. Remember, this box is a very key area. This box is also. This box is just to show you the drive from Friday. Okay. Now, what do I want to see here if I'm a short? Well, let's just say we do pull back here. Fine, you get a rip up. You break this resistance. Okay. I would think you'll get a little excursion from that. Okay. And then you go into supply. Okay. Now, if you get quickly rejected and get some lower highs, you can revisit this. Okay. And then if you spent time below it, retest, you could try to find Friday's lows. Now, another scenario that could work out. Now, this would have to be quick. Okay. Would be a drive up, boom, make all-time highs, and then all of a sudden get a wick, get some lower highs. And let's say this happens quick and the market didn't get a chance to establish its strength and it's not that strong. Well, then I would have confidence of shorting this and then bringing it down to this 23676 level. And then if that can crack, it's all gravy from here. All right, and you can maybe work yourself down to the 234s. It's really all I'm interested in. Okay, so that is your NASDAQ scenarios. All right, and that makes it for me today. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. All right, if you did enjoy that analysis, please smash the like button. That would be much appreciated. All right, and as always, please join me every day. I do this in the morning. Let me be your morning cup of coffee, your tea, your water, and you can join me. All right, I give you the market story, what's going on, the news, the economic calendar, why stocks are moving, basically. Okay, and then you heard a bunch of TA from me, right? And I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios, right? I'm trying to constrict my scenarios to just be what I really want to see, instead of going and doing 5 or 6 of them. Okay, it just doesn't make sense if I don't really want to see them, right? And of course, I always come up with a new one, right? Because there's new data that we don't know when the market opens. Okay, and if you join my Discord, okay, that's Discord is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, join the link. Okay, then you'll see my live commentary. All right, if you want to see me go live, then come in the room. Let me know if you want me to go live. Okay, I usually do go live when I have a couple people in there, but I'm not going to go live if there's literally nobody in there. I'm not going to talk to myself. So let me know and come join. All right, now again, if you go to my Discord, go to that channel and load the weekly expected move into your charts on Thinkorswim. Do yourself a favor and check it out. Okay. have Doc app. I have Doc app. Not sure what that means. I think you mean you have the weekly expected move. I think that's what he's trying to tell me. Oh, you have a Doc app appointment. Oh, so he's out. He loves Mondays, so he's gonna miss it. So, um, so looks like now I know you see her name is Rosa Daza. I'm not sure if she's going to be appearing. The only thing is what I know when she comes in the room and she gives me a hi and then I don't hear anything. So, like I said, if you're new listening to this, come join the Discord. I will go live, no problem. But I definitely will give commentary. All right. So that's it, folks. All right. We have a plan now. It's Monday. It's the summer. Okay. Earnings are kind of behind us. All right. So if I see you in the room, I see you. If not, I'll see you tomorrow.